I'm in Keller, not far from Foxland. Looks like the freaking wax museum. I'm in Keller, not very far from Fox Lane. They're finishing up. That is a really big house. That's amazing. Look at the garages on the... That's like a 12 guard. Well, I can't see on that side, but that looks like maybe a 6-car garage. Look at that one right there. Man, that is a freaking big house. I mean, that is a really big house. That house is huge, man. So we're off of Lodestar and Florence. Oh yeah, this is Florence Lane. This is the lane that I went to school on when I was in elementary school. I don't know how far down I'm on. I was just passing Pearson, not too far from Fox Lane. I guess this is pretty much like the South Lake area. It was once Keller district, but I think, yeah, this is the South Lake area. But my dad's house was just right. My dad's old house was just right down to the left, right here. Of course, my dad, he was one of the first self-made millionaires of the South Lake area, coming out of Keller. There weren't any big houses. That's a church. It's Fellowship Church right there. There weren't any big houses back in I guess the 80s. I mean, I was 9 when that house was completed, or ready to really completely. I guess I was about 8 when it was being worked on, and then I guess at the age of 9, 1973. Let's see, so that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1980. So like 1982. But this road has been under construction for quite a bit of time. They recently, now I'm on Randall Mill. This used to be pretty much almost like a dirt road. It was a 2-lane, very small, paved road, pretty much almost dirt. Now, Fox Lane was a dirt road. That's what's coming up right here, and I just passed Fox Lane. It's still, you can see the area right there. It's now a paved road. But when we were kids, we were dropped off at the corner of Fox Road, and we would walk up this little road right here, which this is only a 2-lane. None of this was here. It's still a 2-lane right now, but there was a beekeeper that lived right at the top, right here. He committed suicide when we were younger. And this road right here, which was Randall Mill, would turn. You can see the original turning spot right here where the lanes are turning. They've got a do not enter right now. But this is my dad's old house, which is pretty much on Randall Mill. Randall Mill makes a sharp right-hand turn. That's my dad's house in the dark, or his old one. Right next to another road that was a dirt road called Maranatha. And that's the Coxes lived right next door to us. We had a few neighbors in the back. I don't know if you can see it. We had a few neighbors in the back. This is now a paved road. This was a dirt road for many years. That may not be paved. I can't tell. It looks somewhat paved. Then we'll be crossing right here into the Cox's place. I don't even know if they've got one of the best ponds. They had like rope pond stuff. Where Kleina Cox was the mother there. And Ryan Cox was one of my good friends growing up. Here's another really nice house. See, none of these houses were there when I was younger, or right down the road on Randall Mill. I had friends that lived in a trailer. Most of all this, if you lived near here, besides the Coxes, you probably lived in a trailer. This was a gravel road that was a trailer park, or a couple of trailers were back there. One of my friends that had a motorcycle lived there. And then Shane, he lived in a trailer. He lived down the other road. Now, these are all $1 million homes, up to, $5 million, $10 million homes. Now, some of these are standard size, like this one's a standard size house. But when we go down here further, we're gonna run into houses that are, like Beverly Hills kind of style, just huge houses that are mansions. And we go right around this way, we'll see, these are just, modest style. It's pretty interesting, the story behind South Lake, because IBM came in here probably in either the mid or late 80s, when the computer age was just taking off, and all these little neighborhoods are real expensive. These are small little neighborhoods. None of this was here when I was a kid in the 80s. So IBM came in the late 80s, and this stuff started developing. None of this was here. These small houses weren't here. These neighborhoods were not here. This was almost a dirt road right here. This was all smaller kind of road. And then we're gonna get into some really, I don't think we're gonna be able to see it in the dark, so I'll be cutting off here pretty soon. We'll get into some really big houses coming around here. Now, in the 90s, IBM started getting bigger, and then of course Microsoft influenced IBM, and probably in the mid 90s, that's when things started exploding, and many people started developing. Here's the Enclave, which is a common name for neighborhoods. Anyway, like the mid 90s, it really started developing, and then it just got out of control, and it was nothing but, $5 million homes. This is Westlake, which is right near South Lake, coming out of going kind of by Dove Road. Now here's some of the mansions. These are some of the newer mansions that developed probably late 90s, maybe mid 90s. None of this was here when we were younger. This was all fields, dirt. This was all basically woods when we were kids in the 80s. We had a place right next to our home called Hunt's property, was, I don't know, huge acres, just miles and miles and miles of acres. And there was a couple of ponds there too for fishing. Also lots of cattle and hay bales, just kind you could jump in and just kind of like, you could jump off the top. They were like 3-story buildings of hay bales. You could jump in the center and crawl around in and stuff like that. And that was the Hunt's property, which is right next to our old place, which is where the old CEO of Taco Bueno lives, next door off of Randall Mill, but he's no longer a part of Taco Bueno. Actually, Taco Bueno is going under right now. These are so another really nice neighborhood in this area. But anyway, you go in this area off of South Lake, you're looking at $5 million home, Beverly Hills style homes, just really big, like the cowboy team. Some of them would be living. And this is like some kind of artwork with an eagle I've come across a few times. It lights up at night. You can see this little roundabout right here. You can see the eagle here, right in this area there by Sam School Road. It's a little, like, I guess, eagle monument kind of thing. I guess this is Peytonville is what they call it, right about here in South Lake. I'll be wrapping it up right here pretty soon. We're off at Dove Road, coming out of Randall Mill. But it changed a lot. Now it's very well developed. Mostly, like I said, $1 million homes. When we were kids, there weren't really any of those types of homes around. There wasn't. Oh, yeah, here's another one right here. When we were kids, we were the first of the first My dad was in the refinery business for precious metals. Developed off a company called Eutectic Metals, and then developed a Lone Star Casting, which dealt with, and none of this stuff was here, so we were one of the first. And then eventually my dad moved off and went out to borderline Keller, Fort Worth.